From NJPBS Studios, this is NJ Spotlight News with Brianna Venozzi.
Hello and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Joanna Gagis in for Brianna Venozzi. A few stories we'll get into later in the broadcast. The latest on the Port Authority's plan to improve your commute, but will it cost you more to ride the roads and rails? We'll get you the latest. And holiday stress from traveling to shopping to family. We'll get you some advice to help you navigate the expectations of the season. And later, giving back. We take you to one holiday toy drive, making wishes come true for kids and families. But first, not the year-end news you probably want to hear, but your energy costs are going to go up again. PJM, the regional grid operator, released the results of its latest auction yesterday, where capacity prices hit a record high of $16.4 billion per year. Capacity prices cover the costs of supplying power to the electrical grid across 13 states and the District of Columbia. That then gets passed on to consumers. Now, the increase will hit in 2027, and it'll be about 2% more than the electricity rate increases we already saw this year. But beyond the cost, the bigger concern from yesterday's auction, by the summer of 2027, PJM doesn't expect to have enough power to meet the demand brought on by the increase of data centers. That has energy experts concerned and calling on PJM to bring more energy online and quickly. Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill has promised to take on the grid operator when she takes office in January. And Sherrill is already shaking things up, announcing today that she's moving her inauguration ceremony out of Trenton and up to NJPAC in Newark. The time-honored tradition usually takes place at the War Memorial in Trenton, right next to the state capitol. Sherrill is from Essex County and relied heavily on the support of Newark and Essex County Democrats during her campaign. The move demonstrates her commitment to the city and the county. It also may be a nod to the only female governor to precede her and who supported her campaign, former Republican Governor Christie Todd Whitman, who also marked the start of her second term at NJPAC in 1998. Sherrill's shakeup could also be a signal to power players in Trenton that she's doing things on her own terms. The inauguration ceremony will be held on Tuesday, January 20th, where Sherrill will become New Jersey's 57th governor. And Atlantic City Mayor Marty Small has been found not guilty. The verdict was reached today in the 2-week-long case where the mayor faced charges of child endangerment, aggravated assault, terroristic threats, and witness tampering. All charges stemming from allegations that he beat his daughter unconscious with a broomstick and repeatedly punched her in the legs. Small was found not guilty on all charges, his defense team successfully arguing that the case was parental discipline of a rebellious daughter. The mayor reportedly shouted, "Thank you, Jesus, thank you, jury," when the verdict was read. He calls the victory a win not just for him, but for all of Atlantic City, saying, quote, "Anyone in the jury box would see this for what it is. I am not an abusive man." Small's wife, Laquetta Small, is also facing charges, accused of beating her daughter with a belt and dragging her by the hair. Her trial is set to begin in January. Coming up, could your commute get even more costly? We'll talk with a transportation expert who will give us the latest right after this.
Major funding for NJ Spotlight News is provided in part by NJM Insurance Group, serving the insurance needs of residents and businesses for more than 100 years. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association, and by the PSCG Foundation.
The Port Authority has announced a new plan to make getting around New Jersey and New York a little easier. They say it'll bring transformational change to its service and for riders. But what'll it cost you to commute? Here to give us the scoop on that is Larry Higgs, transportation and commuting reporter for NJ Advanced Media. Larry, good to have you. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We know that the Port Authority Commission has voted on a $45 billion capital plan. Just give us the big picture, but kind of the short version. What will this plan accomplish?
Well, this plan is going to accomplish transformative things at the airports. The airports are getting the biggest slice of this. It's going to basically continue the work at Newark Airport to replace Terminal B, complete the AirTrain monorail replacement, and look into rehab on Terminal C. And then there will also be other improvements at JFK and finishing off LaGuardia Airport. For PATH, this is basically going to bring in extra service. It's going to do some work in the uptown tunnels to make them more waterproof in Manhattan. And for the bridges and tunnels, it's going to complete the Restore the George Washington Bridge program that's been underway for the last 15 years to basically replace the key infrastructure parts of that bridge, which is a remarkable 95 years old now.
So let's get into what this is going to cost the average rider, the average person in the area. How do they break down the costs and the cost increases for fares?
Well, path fares are going to ultimately increase to $4 for a single ride as of 2029. And that's going to be done in increments. The first fare increase happens on May 3rd. That will be $3.25. And then what happens, there will be a $25 increase in January 2027, 28, and 29. And then in 2029, after January, they will do what they've been doing with the tolls, and that will be to put in an inflationary 25-cent increase, which is kind of what the MTA and other organizations have done to try to keep the fares steady without hitting the riders with a gigantic double-digit fare increase.
And let's just clarify, you
tolls,
said $25 earlier. I think you meant 25 cents, right?
25 cents, yes.
We don't want people panicking.
We don't use cents that much anymore.
Right. Go ahead. You can continue.
Okay. And what's going to happen on January 4th, there will be toll increases. These are also going to be, it's a double toll increase of the 3% inflationary toll increase, and then there will be a 25-cent increase that will be taken. So what that means is if you're using Easy Pass in off-peak, your $14.06 toll is going to increase to $14.73. Easy Pass Peak is going to increase from $16.06 to $16.79. And if you don't use Easy Pass, you will see the biggest increase, and that's from $22.38 to $23.05.
Okay,
now,
so,
in addition,
so these are not congestion pricing jumps, right? We're not seeing that drastic of
congestion
an
pricing
increase.
has nothing to do with this.
Of course,
this
but
is strictly the Port Authority.
Of course, but just to compare in terms of the sticker shock that folks have experienced at some toll passageways, they're not going to see that here. These are going to be much more incremental. I'm curious about a part of the vote today that happened, or part of the agreement discussion, that would phase in a Lyft and Uber rate increase. First, tell us what was the proposed increase for those fare services?
Okay, well, the proposed increase would have charged what they call an airport access fee of $5. That's double the $2.50 access fee that they're charging now. Taxi cabs would only see their rate go up 25 cents. So naturally, a group representing Uber and Lyft drivers testified at the meeting and also sent written testimony saying that this is unfair. This would represent a $71 million increase on those drivers, who of course are going to pass it on to passengers because they're operating on what they call a razor thin margin of covering their expenses. So what the Port Authority did was they phased that in. So what's going to happen is, instead of the whole increase happening in March, $1 will happen in March. So that $2.50 fee will increase to $3.50 in March. And then they will take in incremental fees in the next 2 years to bring it up to the full $5. Now, there's a guild that represents Uber and Lyft drivers, and they testified today, and they said, well, that's still unfair because it's basically tacking $10 extra on every ride. It's unfair to people in the suburbs and in the outer boroughs, and they contend it's subsidizing yellow cabs. What the Port Authority folks said is that the cab rate is lesser because they need a steady supply of cabs at the airport at all hours, and that includes the lesser hours. So that's the reason for that.
So that's
they
their
also
compromise.
provided justification. Excuse me?
So that's a compromise of sorts.
It's a compromise of sorts. I mean, it's still going to be paid. It's just going to be a little, not as immediate.
So we just have a little bit of time left, and I have to ask you, as folks are considering what it looks like to be out on the roads, we know holiday travel is going to hit peak levels very soon. What can we expect on the roads, in the air, and in public transit through this holiday season?
Well, I mean, AAA always says that the roads have the most amount of people traveling on them. So, and actually AAA has figures about when it's the worst time and the best time to leave. If you're going to wait till Wednesday afternoon, you're going to be in trouble. To next Wednesday afternoon, that is. The Port Authority United Airlines, which is the biggest airline at Newark Airport, they're expecting 1.3 million people to travel through the airport. So, I mean, that's quite a lot of people. Uh, Basically what the airlines are saying is that you should download their app that will keep you in touch as far as any changes to your flight, if there are delays, if there are cancellations. It will make it easier to rebook. If you don't have the TSA's clear, if you have that, use it because it'll make it easier to get through the checkpoint lines. Make sure you have a real ID compliant document, because if you don't, that's going to cost you time, because you're going to need an enhanced security screening to get through the airport.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, we know that if folks do not already have that real ID, they're not the easiest to come by here in New Jersey. But good advice for us, Larry Higgs. Thanks for breaking it all down in terms of the Port Authority. A lot that we're going to be following that comes out of that in terms of improvements to this region. Larry Higgs, commuting and transportation reporter for NJ Advanced Media. Have a great holiday season.
Thanks. You too.
From shopping to traveling, family get-togethers to gifts, all those gifts. Let's be serious. The holidays can sometimes feel a little less than joyful, but there are things you can do to help ease yourself through this time of year. And Jennifer Velton, Senior Director of Trauma Services at CarePlus NJ, is here to help us manage our mental health as we navigate all the expectations of the holiday season. Jennifer, so good to have you with us. What advice do you have for folks who are really struggling to just manage all the expectations that come with this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot for all of us, right? So I think what folks can really take some time to think about is changing our perspective. This takes some time, by the way, to get used to, but can we make a shift from what I have to do to what I get to do? If we can start to make a shift around our own internal perspective, it brings joy back in small ways. We also really need to keep in mind that everything is optional, truly. And I know we all say, no, I have to do this. I have to go to this family thing. I must do this. If we can change our perspective that things in life are optional, many things, especially social things, and can I let go of some things, some of those expectations, and then really cultivate and focus on the connections of things that bring me joy and that I want to do. Those would be my top 3 things for folks to keep in mind as we're coming to this full holiday season next week.
That's a great point. You make me think of just myself this year saying, like, we've got to scale back all the family gifts. We don't need to buy for everyone in the family, and finding a lot of joy in that. That also comes to, I think, an issue that a lot of people are feeling right now, which is affordability. Would you apply that same advice to folks who are feeling a lot of financial strain right now?
Right. Yes, absolutely. And I would say I'm in the same boat. It's across the board, the cost of everything. What I would really recommend for that is also change expectations, as you were just mentioning, around gift giving. So I've had conversations with my family this year along the lines of, are we really buying presents for each other as brothers and sisters? Are we focusing more on the nieces, the nephews, the children in our lives? And even with that, so let's hope maybe that we can trim down the list, but even with that, are we focusing on maybe gifts of connection? Can I take my nieces out and go and do something that we enjoy? Can I get them something that's maybe not the biggest holiday thing on the hot toy list, but something that they're going to really enjoy doing, which could be more cost conscious? I think we have to give ourselves permission for that too. We don't have to be that aunt, that mom, that whoever we are that's giving the biggest, most expensive gift. When you talk to your loved ones, often they'll tell you that the best gifts are the ones that brought you time together.
Yeah, that's a great point. That time together is fun for some, not as fun for others. Yeah. How do we navigate family gatherings when there's tension, when there's politics at play, or just when it's really hard and everyone's stress levels are higher?
Right. So I think the first thing is, let's evaluate our expectations. To be fair, some level of stress is totally normal and to be expected. That's a lot of folks under one roof. So I think if you can even say to yourself and prepare yourself, you know what? some level of disagreement and some level of discomfort is probably going to be present around the table. You're going to be better prepared for it. So first of all, evaluating those expectations. Secondly, then I always ask myself, is it a manageable amount of stress? To be fair, it's short-lived, right? I'm with my family, the larger extended family, maybe for 4 hours. Can I kind of work through it? If the answer is no, how can I set limits and boundaries? Because I'm not a big fan of forcing people to do things that truly are going to be bad for them. So if I review the expectations, I discuss with myself, is it manageable? I can then set those limits and boundaries. If the answer is no, it's no.
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, I can make a better plan for it.
How about carving out space to go in a quiet room and bring yourself back
Yes.
down too? I know that sometimes helps.
100%.
For some, the holidays are not joyful. It's a reminder of grief or loss. What is your advice to folks who feel that should be a time of joy, but really just amplifies the grief they're experiencing?
So it's very challenging. The holidays, big celebrations, especially if we are dealing with grief and loss. What I talk with my clients about, and also what I try to remember for myself, is we as humans are capable of feeling more than one thing at a time. And so if we can give ourselves grace that I am allowed to still feel joy in those moments when joy is present, for example, glowing, twinkling lights, those moments bring me joy personally. If I can allow myself to feel that joy and at the same time grieve and honor loved ones that might not be with me physically or perhaps I'm estranged from, I give myself permission to be a complete human and feel more than one thing at a time. I think when we get really stuck in this, I should only feel sad or I should only feel happy, we don't give ourselves the space to really have a full human array of emotions. And that really does more damage to us.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Great point. A lot of folks are going to head out onto the roads. Some are going to fly. Some are going to take public transportation. What advice do you give travelers as they head out, maybe for preparing or for managing what can sometimes feel like overwhelming traffic and congestion?
Oh boy, especially in New Jersey, right?
For sure.
So we want to always keep in mind, again, like thinking ahead. So if I tell myself in advance, driving around on Christmas Day or driving around nighttime, during Hanukkah, there's going to be more traffic, I can better prepare for it. Perhaps I can leave a little earlier, or I can just sort of laugh in the moments where I can laugh because I'm not in control of the other cars around me. I'm not in control of the airplane. These things are out of my control. Can I try to have that perspective shift of some humor? If that's not possible, because sometimes we're not in that headspace, what can I do to reground myself? So driving around in northern New Jersey during the holiday season can be super tricky when I'm starting to get myself really amped up while driving. Can I change even the music in the car I'm listening to? Can I maybe go for something more subdued? Can I do a very quick mini mental check-in? An example would be like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What are 5 things I can see while I'm driving? What are 4 things I can hear?
Yeah.
What are 3 things I can touch, 2 things that I can smell, and 1 thing I can taste? Just kind of bringing myself back to the moment can really do a lot to get out of that anger space.
All really great advice. Jen Velton, Senior Director of Trauma Services at CarePlus. Thank you so much. Hopefully folks do go into the holiday feeling a little more grounded. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
While many families are finishing up their last-minute shopping, some are struggling to make ends meet. That's where the Salvation Army comes in, collecting and distributing more than 100,000 toys through their programs to make sure children in need have gifts to open this holiday season. Raven Santana recently went to their toy drive in Newark, where the true spirit of this giving season was on full display.
At the Salvation Army's Newark West Side core, tables are stacked with toys, dolls, trucks, games, all waiting to be placed into the hands of parents who signed up weeks ago, hoping for a brighter holiday for their children. It's why the Salvation Army's Angel Tree Toy Shop program is so critical this time of year.
Oh, it's a remote control, yes.
With rising costs for food, rent, and utilities, many families are struggling to afford basic necessities, let alone holiday gifts. Newark Area Commander Captain Darrell Houston knows firsthand the impact these programs can have.
What does it feel like when you see these families come in?
It was only about 20 years ago where I was one of the children benefiting from this program. So when I see these families and the smiles that they leave with on their faces, I'm just so thankful because I know personally what a kind gift can do for someone's life. And so coming back to my own community to be able to serve it and provide these opportunities for children who were just like me is just a blessing.
Houston says demand has surged. In the first hour, more than 100 families pre-registered for the event, which serves children and teens of all ages. Each child receives at least 3 toys, and many families seeking help this year have never needed assistance before. Companies like Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, which is an underwriter of NJ Spotlight News, volunteer at the toy drive annually.
Today we expect all of our gifts to be exhausted. We do have a wait list, but thankfully we also have partners who have stepped in who are going to provide for those who weren't able to register in time. Efforts like this don't get done on their own or by a few people, so we're so thankful for our volunteer groups. One of our largest this year has been Horizon, who sends volunteers not only for the setup, but also to help our families shop, to be able to pick out toys for their families.
To be able to do that with my work colleagues and to see that the company that I'm working for is caring about the community and doing things like this is truly just an amazing opportunity. It really is Salvation Army, the way they're organized, they make our life really easy to come in and to do this great stuff for us. To great stuff, there is a lot of heavy lifting. As you can see, yesterday a team of 15 people from our company came and did a lot of the heavy lift. So today we get to come and do some of the fun stuff and actually do some great distribution for some great families.
It's beautiful that they can see that we're here to help. We're approximately, we did like 150 families just in Ironbound, yes.
So the need is high.
It's really high, yes.
Tell me a little bit about the really fun part about the bikes this year.
Yeah, because first of all, there's a few families that they don't know that they're gonna get a bike, and now us taking the bikes to them, so it's gonna be a really exciting moment.
Parents I spoke with here say the Salvation Army's annual toy shop means that kids will still feel the magic of Christmas even after a tough year.
A few years ago, I was diagnosed with kidney failure, and I had to start dialysis. But I'm here because my daughter, she's 12 years old, her name's Naomi, and I just wanted to be able to provide Christmas for her this year. Very, very difficult. Money problems, with the whole government shutdown and everything, it was just really, really hard. So applying for this and coming here for you guys to help me just means the world to me.
Maybe tablet is possible. And for my ladies, I need Barbie doll house or something like that, like a house, she like that. And my other son, maybe ball or something like that. But everything that we can receive is good. I feel really blessed. And every year they support me. And 4 kids is difficult, actually.
And it's not just happening in Newark. The Salvation Army Trenton Corps just finished a massive volunteer-driven toy and gift distribution event this week, providing Christmas support like toys, coats, essentials to hundreds of local families and over 1,000 children. Salvation Army leaders say these efforts are about more than presents. They're about dignity, hope, and reminding families they're not alone. For NJ Spotlight News, I'm Raven Santana.
Well, after our report earlier this week and a whole lot of public outcry against the World Cup ticket prices, FIFA has announced a new pricing plan to make tickets more affordable. The organization announced it would offer $60 tickets, but don't get too excited just yet. Here's the catch. Only 10% of the tickets provided to each soccer team will be at that $60 rate, and only 8% of all tickets are reserved for the teams. So that means that actually only a fraction, 0.8% of all the tickets will be that lower price point. And fans have to be supporters of qualified teams to be eligible for those seats. So a sliver of hope that you might actually get to see your team play without breaking the bank. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Joanna Gagis for the entire team at NJ Spotlight News. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
New Jersey Education Association, making public schools great for every child. And RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
You're not texting your symptoms to your old roommate again, are you? You need real answers. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey has over 80,000 doctors you can ask and 24/7 virtual care.
Oh, so I don't have to scroll forums or keep texting Sheila?
Exactly, because when it comes to your health, you deserve answers that you can trust.
Finally, advice I don't have to fact check myself.
A healthier you, covered by Blue.
Have some water. Look at these kids. How are you? What do you see? I see myself. I became an ESL teacher to give my students what I wanted when I came to this country. The opportunity to learn, to dream, to achieve, a chance to belong and to be an American. My name is Julia Toriani Crompton, and I'm proud to be an NJEA member.
Public service is what we do. At the PSEG Foundation, through volunteer hours, partnerships, and our other contributions, we're committed to empowering communities. We work hand in hand with you, our neighbors, to educate young people, support research, environmental sustainability, and equitable opportunities, provide training and other services all over New Jersey and Long Island. Uplifting communities, that's what drives us, the PSEG Foundation.